Hey there friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sohum and I'm on a mission to spread peace, love, and positivity through music. Today I'll be reacting to Ghost of a Chance by Rush. This is off of their Roll the Bones album and will be my second reaction off of this record. My first reaction was to the album opener Dreamline and was a really fun track, good energy and great meaning as we can always expect from a Rush track. So I'm excited to get into this one today. And a little bit of like fun fact that I didn't know before doing my Dreamline reaction was the fact that Roll the Bones actually is synonymous with roll the dice, meaning there's a chance, probability, and so much of this record is actually based on the idea of chance, fate, destiny, probability, which isn't something that I necessarily put together. And even if you look very closely at the album cover, you can see that everything is outlined by dice. And in my Dreamline reaction, I didn't quite put two and two together to figure out that this is actually all dice and probability and chance related. So when we have the song title Ghost of a Chance, there's a lot to potentially unpack there. That's like a simulacrum of a simulacrum, right? Ghost of a chance. There's a faint possibility of a possibility. We are in the, percent of a percent. So, all of those synonyms aside, I'm excited to get into this one. A big thank you goes to Avi, whose generous support made this reaction possible. And we're going to be deep diving into the lyrics, so stick around for that as well. Now, with all that said, let's jump in. That was right away.
Like a million little doorways, all the choices we made.
Now I'm thinking all probability. Really interesting, like half-step choices with the music.
Somehow we find each other.
Okay.
Through all that masquerade. Somehow we found each other. Somehow we have stayed.
Across all the possibilities. That vibe change, okay.
I don't believe in destiny.
Oh, feel that music.
Hand of fate. I don't believe in forever, but love has a mystical state.
Wow.
I don't believe in the stars or the planets or angels watching from above. But I believe there's a ghost of a chance we can find someone to love.
Wow.
Make it last.
Like against every odd, even though all of the chances for anything are impossibly low, I still think we can find a way to love each other.
Someone to love.
Or somebody else, at least for us. Great melodies from Alex. Wow, and we return to that motif.
Like a million little crossroads through the back streets of you. Each time we turn a new corner, tiny moment of truth. Oh, so many our separate paths might have made.
You see, it's like in this section here, there's like these half-note choices that Alex is making, along with Getty on the bass, that almost like outlines this feeling of anxiety and certainly uncertainty. That's how it kind of feels. That's like the anxious vibe they're trying to create. And this is something I never really thought of, until I started like actually really just deep diving onto my reactions and learning more about music and how it makes me feel and what the artists themselves are trying to invoke. And you can induce so many different emotions through the melodic choices one makes, through the song structures, through the changing rhythms and tempos. You can induce anxiety in people just through music. And I never I've kind of felt that across time and through different experiences, but I never really understood it and allowed that to kind of imprint on me and sink in. I'm not saying that this is an anxiety inducing or anything, but we are like in this weird amorphous gray area melodically.
Our separate paths might have made every door that we open, every game we played. Somehow we find each other.
But it's a very catchy riff, actually, which is surprising, to be honest.
Somehow we found each other.
Like, how did we get from there to here?
State of grace.
A state of bliss the moment we dive into those warm waves.
Or the guiding hand of fate. I don't believe in forever, but love has a mystical state. I don't believe in the stars or the planets or angels watching from above.
It's actually so gorgeous here.
But I believe there's a ghost of a chance we can find someone to love and make it last. And make it last.
Make it last now. Oh, yeah. Let's go, Alex. Come on. Oh my. Back to the bliss. Oh. I gotta say, Alex is crushing this one. That is so good. Ah, that is gorgeous. It was interesting, like, certain sections in that song almost felt very potentially anxiety inducing slash just kind of amorphous, like I was saying earlier. But when we return to the sections where the melody and the song structure kind of maps onto what you expect normally, it is so gorgeous and lovely and beautiful. And all of those synonyms you could kind of consider here. I really think Rush have this uncanny ability to make anything work with their music, and that's really impressive to me. I love the genre that they kind of inhabit. It's this esoteric, sci-fi, intellectual, musical, chaotic space. But in this one, there was less chaos. I think we kind of had like our toes dipped in a little bit, almost reminded me a little bit of 2112 and the overture and everything that was going on in that craziness. We kind of dipped our toes into those waters with this song, but mostly we were above board, I would say. So really cool. Let's dive into the lyrics and dissect this one together, shall we? So I like how the first lyric here just immediately bringing up numbers, right? Like a million little doorways. And this just instantaneously reminds me of the old. It's I don't know if it's a riddle or puzzle, but it's I think it's the Monte Carlo problem, where basically, and you probably have seen this from the scene in the 21 movie. It's a poker or card counting blackjack kind of movie. Anyways, the puzzle goes, okay, well, you're in a game show and there are three doors. Behind two of the doors are goats, and one of the door is a brand new shiny car. And you get the choice to pick door A, B, or C. And hopefully you choose correct and you get the car. So let's say, for the sake of the analogy, you choose the car. You choose the door. You choose door A. And you don't know actually what's behind it. But then the show host comes up to you and is like, hey, I am going to reveal what's behind door B, and it's a goat. And now the show host tells you, okay, you see the goat behind door B, and the initial choice you made was door A, though you don't know what's behind door A or door C. But the host offers you the possibility to switch your choice. The question is, do you? Do you switch your choice from the initial one you made, door A, and do you now choose door C? And, you can answer it yourself in your own mind, and I'll just spoil the answer and explanation. Statistically, you should actually choose to switch to door C every single time, because instead of the 1/3 probability you had at the beginning, now it's actually 50-50. In my mind, it's still a little bit confusing, and I have to always relearn that backwards intuition. But anyways, this whole thing about probability and statistics gets me thinking about scenes and movies like that, especially when I hear about the doorways, the goats behind the doors and stuff. Oh God, if I have an anecdote for every line, we're never gonna get through this. Okay, like a million little doorways, all the choices we made, all the stages we passed through, all the roles we played. So kind of in this section, highlighting there's infinitely many things that brought us to where we are now. Every decision, every thought, it's an infinitely regressing and progressing butterfly effect. For so many different directions, our separate paths might have turned. Yeah, so right here, when I first heard separate, I was, immediately okay, I'm thinking of somebody else now, because there's separate paths, but a different path could belong to a different person, and they're moving one way in all of the different possible permutations they could be, and so am I. And the fact that we can rejoin at some later point is statistically so improbable, yet it's the fate thing to do. With every door that we opened, every bridge that we burned, so through all of the decisions we made, through all of the incorrect mistakes we've also made, somehow we find each other. At the end of all of that decision making, you and I are in front of one another. You can even think about it in the context of you browsing YouTube today. You saw all of the possibilities for YouTube videos, and for some god unknown reason, you decided to click on my rush reaction, which I am super appreciative of, by the way. Though through all that masquerade, somehow we found each other. I love how the masquerade here he's referring to is that whole sequence of millions of decisions that could be possibly made, and kind of referring to it as a masquerade in my mind gives me the feeling that he's treating life almost jovially, although that may not be the implication here. If I with a separate interpretation, I could take masquerade as just being a life of maybe secrecy or a dance. Because masquerades usually are about dances, right? Let me clarify with my Google. Masquerade. A false show or pretense. Okay. So with that in mind, there's been some deception. I didn't catch anywhere here there was some level of misrepresentation or deception. So through all that masquerade, so maybe the lie of life, something like that, it could be a higher level construct. Somehow we found each other. Somehow we have stayed in a state of grace. I could also, this other, right, that we're referring to, we're in this moment taking them literally as another person. This other could refer to a higher entity, could be a different version of the self as well, because the state of grace almost makes me feel like it's to be at one with the self after a lifelong journey of actions, events, mistakes, and you are still with yourself, and you have to find that peace, that inner state of grace here potentially. Though you could find grace and peace in the arms of another. Somehow we have stayed. Again, it could refer to the self, although I will just go with the more literal interpretation of we stay together as in another person. I don't believe in destiny or the guiding hand of fate. I don't believe in forever or love as a mystical state. I didn't know we'd get a whole thing about, free will and determinism. I don't think I'm qualified to speak on all of that, frankly speaking. My interest in philosophy is there, but my vocabulary and overall knowledge of, epistemology, of just philosophy, I need to be a smarter person to tackle something like that. That being said here, he doesn't actually believe in destiny. He thinks that he has free will. I don't believe in forever. There is no afterlife, so maybe he's atheistic. Or love as a mystical state. He doesn't believe love is some like profound, supernatural, above human state of being. Maybe it's a more tangible physical thing in his mind. So this feels like very like grounded and material and being present on Earth rather than kind of treading the paranormal or meta world, the metaphysical. I don't believe in the stars or the planets or angels watching from above, but I believe there's a ghost of a chance we can find someone to love and make it last. See, it's like all of this disbelief on these metaphysical concepts and paradigms, and then despite all of those minuscule chances and things not existing and me not believing in them, I still think that there is this microscopic, minute chance that you and I can be together. That's really like, if I read that on like a Valentine's Day card, that would probably make me gush a little bit. This is all like a long-winded Valentine's Day card note written by Geddy Lee. Usually it's written by Geddy, right? And make it last. It's very hopeful. I like that it's hopeful here because, there's a lot of potential ways that this could go wrong. There's so many things in life. You make tons of mistakes. You're not at peace with yourself and you may not find the person that's right for you. There's so many things that could go wrong, but I'm holding out hope that it does go right, despite my disbelief in some of the metaphysical. That's just my train of thought, trying to piece everything I've understood together so far. And make it last and make it last. Like a million little crossroads, right? Each decision, dichotomous, either do it or don't. Through the back streets of youth, each time we turn a new corner, a tiny moment of truth. That, I like, this is like, I've liked a lot of the lines here, but this, like, in the context of everything we've heard, feels very real. Because there's, like, every decision you make is the decision you were supposed to make, in a sense. There's never, and it depends on like the way you want to frame things, but you could look at your life as you never actually made a mistake. Everything that you did for a certain reason that brought you to the place that you are now. That's like everything happens for a reason, the kind of idiom. Each time we turn a corner, a tiny moment of truth. Because to turn the corner, you made the decision. To lay in bed a little bit longer, you still made the decision, though through repeated bouts of laying in bed all day, it may become more like second nature to you. But despite that, you did make the choice at some point. And the roads that you go down, the path that you decide to put yourself on one way or the other, it is a kernel of truth, right? Through the back streets of youth. I like that it's the back streets of youth. I don't know specifically what is being implied when he mentions back streets here, only because youth can be forward facing as well. Back streets, I think, is just more like when I think of like an urban center, the back streets are where things go awry, go wrong. And I don't think I necessarily attribute youth with things going wrong. Granted, you may make like certain mistakes more at a higher frequency, but adults make mistakes all the time too. Each time we turn a new corner, a tiny moment of truth. That's a really cool line. For so many different connections, our separate paths might have made. So there were so many touch points we could have actually connected with every door that we opened, every game we played. But somehow we find each other through all that masquerade. I guess, yeah, it's the masquerade of life. All of the events, everything that was between us that kept us apart, we finally made our way through the mud, through the corn maze and difficulties of life. Every left-right decision we chose finally brought us here. Somehow we found each other. Somehow we have stayed in a state of grace. I don't believe in destiny or the guiding hand of fate. I don't believe in forever or love as a mystical state. I don't believe in the stars or the planets. I mean, come on, you kind of have to believe in the stars and planets at this point. That NASA do we know what they're talking about. Or angels watching from above, but I believe there's a ghost of a chance we can find someone to love and make it last, and make it last. I think there's a lot of repetition here towards the end. Yeah, I just definitely like to capstone all of this analysis. I really like the fact that the main like punchline is, despite all of these things not being possible, if you had to like run a statistical test, like it will always come back, positioning itself against your relationship from working or from you two meeting each other, finding your soulmate. There's always a million reasons for something not to work, and having the hope, having the determination, the will to make it work is, I think, definitionally required for love. Because love, in my opinion as a 27-year-old at this point, is a choice that you make. And granted, you can't choose when you find the person, but you can choose when you stay with them, right? You choose who you are along that journey to find the other person on the other side waiting for you. And not even necessarily waiting, but just finding their way towards you as well, because you're both crisscross applesaucing through the infinite wormholes of space-time. And eventually you'll find one another if you have the belief and if you are who you say you are. That's why I like this line. Again, I'm just going to reiterate, the tiny moment of truth is just so cool, because everything you are is truthfully who you are. Maybe, let's say emotionally you're repressed, but you still are that person. Maybe your body is, like, if you have no control over your arms for some reason, but you still have attachment to that arm. Yeah, I don't know how esoteric or like spiritual I want to get here, but yeah, I really like this one. Thank you, Avi, for the request today. I hope y'all enjoyed the reaction. If you did, hit that subscribe button. And if you'd like to request a reaction and lyrical analysis potentially yourselves, hit the link down below. And as always, my friends, have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care and peace.